And we are live. Happy Saturday. Happy Padres making it to the next round. My
And
name.
happy Halloween with that intro right there. That's pretty spooky, my friend. Is that your
There we
Halloween
go.
intro coming in?
I'm gonna get spookier and spookier as things come along, so don't worry about that. Well, you're here today.
One more thing. Could it get even more spooky if you watched the Heat Lakers game last night? How spooky bad the Heat looked was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they sweep them. Oh my gosh. But anyways, you're here to know about rental properties. You probably own a property right now, or you're looking to basically find some rental income. And with this market right now, it could be a great time to take equity out of your property, refinance it, take some equity out, and buy an investment property. So that's why you're here. We're gonna keep this short and sweet. If you have questions, feel free to comment and reach out to us.
Boom.
So things to really look about. Your job is steady. Income comes through on a monthly basis. You have a retirement plan, some savings. You have a house appreciation. And in this market right here, I mean, your house is probably appreciated from the time you bought it. I mean, it's a crazy market, shortage of inventory, low rates. Finding a way for future investments. That's the idea. Rental properties, pay them over time and have that cash flow. We're going to kind of walk you through the positives of owning a rental property.
So,
investment
properties. Oh, sorry about that, Vinny. We're moving like it's the World Series here. It's crazy.
Go take it.
So, in this uncertain times, the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. So, with what Vinny mentioned, why do you want to invest in investment properties? Well, there's monthly cash flow. Rental properties create monthly cash flow. That is money coming into you directly. Rental properties have the ability to increase as you increase the rent. And then the average rent in San Diego is between $18.52 to $27.50. So if you were watching our weekly updates, you would have learned that the market has appreciated by 5% higher, which means rents are also following suit. And then average rent increases 4% per year, 2.7 increase as you. We'll have to talk to our producer about that feedback, Vinny.
Oh, we're good now.
The other ways that investment properties build wealth, future appreciation. So like we said, 5% appreciation. That is compounded and leveraged. So if you invested, let's say $700,000, and it goes up 5% per year, that's $35,000 in appreciation you made in a year. But is that always certain, Vinny? Is it always certain that we're going to have appreciation?
No, I mean, that's the thing that I talk about, and David loves it. I mean, we try to be as straightforward as possible and not give projections of what can happen, but more so on what's happening. So focus on the monthly payments. If you buy a property today, I mean, in a year from now, 2 years from now, it might be worth less. Yet in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's going to get more. It's going to go higher. I mean, it's a pendulum. It goes up, it goes down. And if history holds true, it always goes higher just later on after the next cycle. So be aware of that.
And it's hard to imagine that all of a sudden we're going to get a massive amount of new land in San Diego to build. So housing shortage here, totally a problem. What do we got? What's our next pillar over there?
Future appreciation, renters pay your mortgage. Your appreciation always goes up. And then this is where David likes. I mean, he loves the numbers, tax write-offs.
I love, for the record, can I give a hug to tax write-offs? Can I?
Go right ahead.
So tax write-offs, rental properties, they are tax deductible. So if you have your own home and you fix up the bathroom, fix up your backyard, fix up the driveway, you can't write that off. But home improvements on rental properties are tax deductible, which is huge because unless you like paying more in taxes, you probably will enjoy tax deductibles. So rental properties, massive amount of things you can write off, and in turn lowers the amount of income tax you pay. And then also you can depreciate rental properties. Now, we used to have accelerated depreciation for those of you who have any sort of accounting background. We no longer have that. We now have a standard scale of depreciation. So it slides along perfectly across the life of the property, but you still depreciate it every single year, which is tax deductible. And then obviously property taxes, insurance, mortgage interest, all written off as well. And we are not CPAs, for the record.
Not CPAs. A lot of write-offs. Get a trusted CPA to see what you can actually write off and make your life a little easier. So how do you get started? Yes, you need the money, and you can pull money out of your current home and cash out refi. I mean, we've had a lot of clients right now that we're working with. I mean, of course, more so David on the front end of it, and me on the back end finding the properties. Yet they have high interest rates. I mean, they have interest rates in the fours, which if you watch our market update yesterday, you'll see we were pretty consistent in the fours the last couple of years. So it's not unrealistic that you might have an interest rate in the fours. And with rates right now in the twos, I mean, maybe even in the threes if you have low threes, but more than likely in the twos. So you could refinance, take some money out of your property, and still have a monthly payment that would be consistent with what you previously had. So something to really think about in this current climate. And then with that extra funds you can get, do you buy a property? Do you use it for a rainy day? The things to really think about. And because we're doing rental property, hopefully it's buying a property and planning for your future. You can pull money out from investment accounts or bank savings, IRA, real estate investment accounts. Pull money with other investors to leverage. Now, you could be great friends. You could have great family members. Yet when money gets involved, be aware, crazy things happen. So have everything lined up, written up, have an understanding if you're going forward with it, how everything's going to play out. The only way to sell is that everyone's agreed upon it, things like that. You need to have those things lined up because I see it all the time. When money involved, things change.
Get contracts ahead of time. This one, the HELOC, is interesting because I have a lot of people calling me right now and going, hey, can I get a HELOC? Sure, you can get a HELOC, but it's more expensive and a higher rate than you could get a 30-year fixed right now. So for those of you out there who love these HELOCs because they're cheap, just know the rates are currently higher than a 30-year fixed. So this used to be a great option, and me and Vinnie are all about giving you all options, so we put it out here anyways. But nowadays, your 30-year fixed is cheaper than your home equity line of credit. And what about this one? Cash is king, but cash flow is magic.
Exactly.
Boom.
I mean, I've had clients that accumulated properties over their life, and now that's what their retirement is. I mean, things to really think about in planning for the future. Now, here's a kind of an update of the market showing kind of the values of where properties sit. And this was put together a couple months back. I mean, things change. Please subscribe to whatever platform you're watching this on right now and watch our market updates Monday and Friday at 4:00. We give you more insight. We still have more properties under contract than we do have active on the market. Detached under 700,000, we have basically 3 times as many properties under contract than we do have active on the market. It's a crazy time right now, and it's crazy because of shortage of inventory and low interest rates. But watch our market updates to get better insight into this.
And the market updates, Vinnie, I know that we're now doing, people's time is so precious, so we're doing one tip every single broadcast to help you save money and make money. So if you like saving money or making money and you want a tip, boom, invest the time in 10 minutes in yourself. So what's most important to you about an investment property? Well, everyone's goals are different. Is it your monthly cash flow? Is that most important to you? Do you want the highest monthly cash flow? Do you want the ability to be able to increase rent yearly? Or are this is your first investment property and you're planning on cash flow with slight rent increases? Or yearly appreciation? Is that most important to you? Is it how much the house goes up in value? Now, some of you may buy a house in a certain neighborhood and all of a sudden things happen. What is that thing that kind of happens, Vinnie, in a neighborhood when it changes?
Gentrification.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming.
Word for the day. I'm gonna have to do a little banner right here.
Word of the day. Or do you want to buy houses that have the greatest yearly appreciation and then be able to leverage that in a couple of years and buy up again and use your money.
Word of the day: gentrification.
Oh my gosh! Wow, new
Gentrification.
level. Okay, back to the script. Where's my next bullet point? Oh, or do you want to buy in lower appreciation because of price? So some people out there will call me and Vinny, and both be like, I want the lowest price. I want to get a cheap property. I don't know if the word cheap property exists in San Diego, Vinny. Do you ever see cheap property?
I mean, everything's relative. When someone tells me they're looking for something cheap or they're looking for something like that, it's asking the question of how you perceive it. I mean, you're focusing on the monthly payments. I mean, there's always going to be a quote unquote good deal. It's just a matter of finding out what's a good deal to you.
Yeah, that is totally true. I mean, or are you going to buy because of appreciation down the road for basically financing and different improvements on the property? So, it just totally depends on your strategy. And then the other thing is the safety of the investment. And this one's probably my favorite. I like this one the most because I'm risk adverse. So the location of the property is super important to me. The stability of the rents. So Vinny, you want to touch a little bit about stability of rents with the way that you can have different types of renters going in and out of places and how that affects the stability?
Yeah. So, I mean, the more you ask for in your rent, right, the more likelihood that tenant might move out of the property, right? So if you diversify, maybe if you lower your rent in basically that area, you might get more options of who you could rent to, kind of go forward with. So it makes your life a little bit easier. Would you rather have someone that's only going to live in your property for, let's say, 6 months compared to someone who's going to live there for 5 years? Yet the person who's living there for 5 years is paying, let's say $50 less a month. I mean, so things to really think about. And that goes to the next one: long-term tenants versus short-term tenants. Then do they need maintenance of the property? What kind of maintenance do you need in the property? And then type of tenants. In different areas, different communities in San Diego, you're going to have the more likelihood for families, more maybe business professionals, for college students. So things to really think about when you're purchasing your property. And this is where you can put a game plan together with your realtor to understand the different communities and understand the different dynamics to see what's going to be the best fit for you.
Now that you've thought about the goals of properties and what your goals are, which one is right for you? Well, me and Vinny only do residential. So that is single family homes, duplexes, 3 units, 4 units. Each one has an upside and a downside. And let's roll into that. Let's go through some of those.
Yeah, I mean, so going over the idea, so let's say you have you're approved for 500,000, right? And things are going to subject to change because you can factor in the rental income from the different properties to offset basically your debt to income ratios, right? But let's say you're working with 600,000. In one community, you might be able to get a single family home in that community. Well, another community, you can get a duplex. Yet more than likely, that duplex, you're going to get less rent on each person, right? And so the positive of that is going to be that you're getting 2 rents off the property. And if one person leaves, then you won't have feel the effects of it as much in your pocketbook. Yet the negative of it, you're going to get 2 people calling you up if they have any issues going on with their property. Also, I mean, there's the higher you go up in charging rent, right, the more people can qualify for that rental income, right? So let's say you're buying a property in Rancho Santa Fe and you're trying to rent that property out. There's going to be less people that can satisfy that rent in that community compared to another community where it's a lot more affordable.
Which is, that first picture kind of reminds me of like North Park, South Park, University Heights, City Heights, things like that. Kind of reminds me of those areas where it's like you get in with a nice single family residence and you get in there and you do one of my favorite words, which is bootstrap the work yourself. That's my word of the day. Bootstrap. Do the work yourself to save some money. So like Vinny said, each one of these properties has an upside. Oh no. Tip of the week, bootstrap. Wow.
Either know a great handyman or watch a lot of YouTube videos and bootstrap yourself for all the construction needs. All right? That's the tip of the week.
Just for the record, I just bootstrapped and did drywall repair in my house thanks to YouTube.
There we go.
Boom. So like Vinnie went over, single family houses, one render, duplex is 2, 3 to 4 units, 3 to 4. For some of you out there, you may want to look at buying your first property as a duplex or a triplex and get in with an FHA loan with 3.5% down and have other renters pay your mortgage, which we see a certain amount of people jump in and do that. I'm going to mention this just because I always find it amazing. A client of mine that bought in Mission Hills and bought a 3-unit place, and 2 units pay for almost his entire mortgage, and then he pays $1,500, which is amazing with 3.5% down. So, always an interesting thing to buy more units.
We already did
there it is.
King. Now cash flow is queen too. We go both ways.
Come on.
All right. Is there a wrong property to start with? Of course there is. Okay. Remember your goals here and your financial situation. So understand, even with buying a property to live in, understand what your monthly payments are going to be. Understand a breakdown of how much a monthly payment is going to be on $500,000 compared to maybe $600,000 or $800,000. Understand that when you're looking at properties, and then factor in what the renter is going to be. Can you afford to lose a renter? So let's say your monthly payment on that property after you put everything down is $2,800, and you have a renter that's paying basically $3,000, right? Are you going to have the ability if you don't have a renter in there for a month? I mean, things to really think about, to dissect. Do you have reserves if things go wrong? Because they will. Get up.
Always. That's certain. The only thing certain is uncertainty. And now more than ever with this pandemic, with things breaking, with the pipe busting under your driveway after you just bought the investment property, it's going to happen. I mean, I hate to say this, but me and Vinnie are realists. You need to plan on the unexpected and have money as reserves. So important.
And then they're back to your word.
Boom. Bootstrap. Can you bootstrap work on the property? Do you have tools? Do you have the skill set to fix things? Are you going to have to hire a handyman to fix everything wrong with your property? Because if you do, it's going to be very expensive. In your first property, you want to have a successful outcome, which means you need to do some of the work yourself. So tools are expensive, time's expensive, but YouTube is free.
And then last one, do you have patience to work with people? Because if you don't have patience to work with people, you might need a property manager to oversee the property. If you get a good tenant, I mean, you might not hear from them from 6 months to a year or even longer than that. So things to really kind of think about.
Let's look at some ways that prevent you from choosing the wrong property. All right, this is so crucial. Know your neighborhoods. Know the area you're buying in. What's people's average income in that area? What's the average rent paid? What's the crime rate? Vinnie goes over this quite a bit. And there's some certain sites you can check on crime rates. What's that, Vinnie? Those sites that we
yeah. So crimespotter.org is a good platform for rent. You can go look at rentometer.com. I mean, there's a lot of different platforms out there to just get information that's readily available. One thing I tell you, if you look at any of the crime websites out there, take a look at where you currently live, then look at the area that you're looking at buying in. Because there's crime that happens anywhere. You'll be surprised. So understand where you currently live compared to where you're going, and don't freak yourself out by just looking at where you're going.
Because you know what they say about criminals, Vinnie?
What do they say?
They never follow the law. So crime is everywhere.
I'm gonna have to do basically joke of the week too. All right, what is the rate of appreciation? So know the community, know the area that you're buying in, see if there's been changes, growth, potential that's happened in those communities to get a better understanding of where things are going, as long as things stay, kind of stay the same in our market and with rates and pricing. And then average
And
rent turnover. Sorry, go ahead.
that's huge too. The rent turnover is huge. If your renter, like Vinny said, you get him in there, he or she, and they're in there 5 years, it's great. If you get a property where they change every 6 months, that's a lot of maintenance. So you have to start thinking about it going, the wrong property, do I want to deal with fixing up my house every 60, 90, 120 days because the renters leave? That's something to think about. If you remember back in the day when you were a renter, did you take the best care of the house? Did you always want your deposit back? If so, you better think about some of your renters will not. They will trash your house. So something to think about. Next is knowing the property. What's the age of it? What's the deferred maintenance? Is there piping, electrical, roof work? Permitted versus non-permitted. This is a big one that me and Vinny go into quite a bit. Non-permitted work. Make sure you're with an experienced realtor that can point out these things to you. You don't want to buy a house where everything was basically put together as Legos and then spackle put over in a paint job, and you find this out later.
I mean, things to think about too. So you can buy a property that has unpermitted structure over it as long as it's done in a workmanlike condition. And for the lender purposes of it, you're not going to get basically full value of that permitted area. So things to really think about when you're purchasing a property. So get a feel of it. I mean, you take a risk sometimes. You're looking at properties and you go, okay, well, why is this one a little bit undervalued? And you see that maybe it wasn't permitted. You don't know. It's been like that the structure's been like that forever. You take a little bit of a risk and you get a little better value. So things to really think about when you're looking at a property and dissecting. And then also going back to what David brought up about piping, electrical, roof. I mean, based off the age of the property, when you do your home inspection, you're going to get a better idea on the different factors of the property. You're going to see, okay, well, this has old piping in it, cast iron piping. It's corroded a little bit. All right, do I get it scoped? How much life is left on it? Really think about those kind of things when you're buying a property. And then parking. In some communities, like downtown, the metro area as a whole, parking is critical. If you don't have enough parking spaces, you might lose value in the rent. So really think about that. And then going to the last one, zoning, legal. I mean, your realtor can give you some kind of insight to this. Title, public records is going to show you more. You can go down to the county's recorder, going down to down there to kind of get a feel of what's possible. But yeah, talk to your realtor, talk to your team, and then kind of at least guide you in the areas to go to see kind of what's possible in building things out.
The other thing that's key to note with the zoning and permitted versus non, your good agents like Vinny are going to look at it and go, is there value creation here? Did we buy a property that looks like a single family, but it's zoned for 2 units? That's value created. Those are things you need to notice. The other thing is the permitted versus non-permitted work. That's also huge as well from a lender standpoint, because the workmanlike fashion is crucial to us when we're lending you money. But then also, if it was permitted work, it went through more of a harder standard to make sure the work was done up to code so that you don't have to experience an electrical fire because the guy wired your part of your unit with the wrong wiring, and then your tenant comes in and puts in their 2,000 watt hair dryer and blows it up. Things to consider. Ooh, the scales of, not the scales of justice. Let's be fair here. This is the scales of money, equity, appreciation. And, if you tip one higher and one lower, there's going to be costs on both sides. That's why me and Vinny, we went with the level scale, because we want you to invest properly, safely, and have a good outcome on your first property.
All right, so learn about mortgages, and then great CPAs can help you with tax benefits. Non-owner properties and mortgages, duplex with higher rates for loans than single family. When you buy an investor, down payment is usually 25%. You can, for vacation properties, and again, this is where you want to talk to David. So don't always assume. So if you're watching this right now, you're taking these nuggets right here. There's ways to circumvent sometimes the different rules that are laid out here. But for investment properties, for vacation properties, you can get that less. Or let's say you're getting a multi-unit property, live in one and renting out the other ones. That's another way of doing it. You can use that for VA, no money down, things like that. So 3 to 4 properties will have higher rates than 2 units. More equity in properties means lower rates. You want to take the next one,
Okay.
CPA?
Yeah, the CPA. So your great CPA, unfortunately, there's 2 words that don't go together well with CPA. Cheap CPA means cheap advice. So your CPA, it's worth to invest money in a good quality one. Your CPA can help you maximize all your different tax benefits. Click my next button. CPAs can help with exchanges, 1031 exchanges. CPAs can actually help you when you're selling the property to avoid paying back the depreciation write-offs that you took. Very few CPAs know how to do that. Your smart ones will, which is huge because there is a recapture tax that comes when you sell an investment property if you don't do it correctly. I think we have our producer is he's slow on the buttons today. What's going on here? Oh, we missed the honest contractor. We don't want
Honest, you know what? When the producer gets called out, he decides to go a little faster, so that the talent doesn't get too aggressive.
That's we do have a high demanding staff. That's true, Vinny.
Some formulas to help you out with return on investment: cash on cash return. For example, you buy a property for $700,000, down payment is 25%, so that'd be $175,000. Annual cash from the rent is $3,500 a month for 12 months of $42,000. Talking about $42,000 divided by $175,000, that would give you a return of 24%.
Amazing deal right there, my friends.
Amazing deal.
Amazing.
Now, not all deals are going to be like that. Yet we want to find the opportunities for you to see how close we can get.
So net operating income. These next 2 formulas, very dear to my heart. Net operating income. This goes back to what Vinny was talking about. Knowing things will go wrong, knowing the monthly payment, and knowing you have reserves. So net operating income. It's your annual income less your expenses, not your debt servicing. So for example, if your annual income is $42,000, which is very reasonable in San Diego, $3,500 a month for rent is very reasonable, but it costs you $12,000 to operate that property yearly. Maybe you have expenses every month. Maybe you have a property manager. Maybe you made all the wrong repairs because you didn't know how to bootstrap and you never heard of YouTube. So it costs you $12,000. Now this means after all that, you have $30,000 coming in. Can you cover the mortgage with that? That's $2,500 a month. It's a crucial formula, super easy. I mean, I think a 3rd grader could do the math here, maybe 2nd. And finally, payback period. Everyone wants to know, when am I getting my money back? Payback period. So in the example here, you invested $175,000. You collect $42,000 in rent. That means in 4.17 years, you got all your money back. These 3 formulas, if you put them on your phone, you could write them on your forearm if you want, but I don't recommend that. Put them in your phone is probably better. And use these when you look at properties. It gives you a very simplistic way to go, this property doesn't make sense. This one does. This is when I get my money back.
So what else should you do to protect yourself? Learn California renters laws.
Ooh.
In California, especially if you have, if you're managing a property right now or own a property right now, I mean, forbearances and things like that. It's a lot going on. Understand what's going on in California. Understand the rights your tenants have. Only hire a highly qualified realtor and a highly qualified lender to help you out. A stat that we brought up, this was maybe a month or so ago. If you've done one deal.
Oh gosh, this is terrible.
One deal.
You're gonna make me cry.
Okay, if you've done one deal in the last 12 months, you're in the top 20% of all realtors in San Diego County. So now, are all realtors the same? If you're okay with basically working with that other 4 out of 5, right? 4 out of 5, that haven't done one deal in the last 12 months, with everything changing. Just imagine how much different your life has been over the last, let's say, 8 months. And to not understand how much has changed with real estate and things like that. Be careful who you work with. Understand what's going on in the market. Understand what's going on with your lender, with whatever. And if your lender is not doing a bunch of refis right now, you might want to have a talk with them also. So what else do you do to protect yourself? Property managers, do you need one? Learn the cost. Plan on things going wrong, because they will go wrong. Great insurance is better than cheap insurance. Pay a little extra, protect yourself, get that home warranty on the property, give as much protections as possible to make your life easier.
And then realize you're playing the long game here. This is a calculated risk. Cash is king or queen, but you need your property to operate and work, and then you need to ensure you sleep at night. Me and Vinnie are big on health. We always mention the sleeping, eating healthy, because if you're not sleeping at night because you made a bad investment, your health's going downhill, and then you can't earn money to bootstrap it up and do those repairs. And your neighborhood that was going through gentrification.
Buy rental units to live in one for a while as you fix it up. Always look for ways to increase your value. This equals increased rents. Always ways to look to decrease your costs, but never screw with a tenant.
Never.
Don't be short-sighted. If you do your tenant right, for the most part, they'll stay with you. And it's easier to have a property that's rented out, a happy tenant, than having a property that's empty or dealing with basically an angry tenant.
You know, if you look at that, the frustration points of tenants, like we mentioned earlier in the slides, that parking, if you have a rental property and yet you have no parking for it and it frustrates your tenant and keeps them angry, try and do something else for them to keep them happy so that you have a happy tenant, because a happy tenant will take care of your property.
Now that you have the basics, go look at properties, what to do. Again, hire a great agent and hire a great lender. Know the areas, look at rents, look at the improvements, use the formulas here. If you want access to these formulas, we can email it over to you. Our information is below us, 858-345-7829, and David's information, 858-349-7468. We can give you that information or comment on whatever platform you're watching us on. Know your goals and build your wealth.
Boom. That's it. 30 minutes.
There we go. And there's our information again. Please subscribe, watch our platforms. We give you market updates Monday and Friday, understanding what's going on. Also, too, been recently putting together what do blank do, right? So looking at different individuals in the real estate process and kind of going over what they do in 5-minute, 10-minute little clips. Last week, we had a short sale negotiator on. This week, we're going to have a transaction coordinator, and we're also going to have a termite inspector.
And we're going to bring my processor in on this.
Yes. So we're going to have a processor. People look at for David, right? And they go, all right, well, he's a lender. He takes care of all that stuff. Reality is when you start the process, start going through things, you're going to start dealing with the processor. The processor is going to deal with an originator. They're going to deal with so many different people right there, and you get confused a little bit. Who am I talking to? What's going on? So we wanted to put together these short interview videos so you can have a better understanding of who you're talking to, what they're doing, what their role is, and how they can best help you get to where you want to get to. Any last parting words, David?
I got to say, first of all, you didn't mention your podcast. So Vinnie's got a great podcast. So check that out, Road to Growth. Second of all, our weekly market updates are only 10 minutes, Mondays and Fridays at 4 o'clock, 4 to 4:10. If you got 10 minutes and you just want a clear, concise view of what's going on in the market, not hearsay, tune into us. Our tip of the week, we started that just so you can help with making money, because we want your life to be easier. And other than that, we promised you, a quick seminar. We hope we added value to you. We're here to help you long term. And there's no dumb question. It's dumb not to ask. So don't be afraid to reach out to Vinnie. I know he looks intimidating and like a UFC fighter, but he's actually a great guy. So just reach out to him. And then myself, I'm here to help as well. And other than that, we're very grateful for your time.
I'm going to put in the comment section right now one one of our more recent market updates. You can watch that and just click on the link. It gives you access to our YouTube channel. And yeah, follow us. And let me just put that on there before we end it. And there we go. All right, guys, have a great one and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you.